Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is round 2 of the oNiD Sunday Championship. So this is one of 3 splits going on right now. And yeah, you've got me, Ben Brown. Welcome, welcome. Sorry for the bit of delay. We're getting the stream started. I just had to get through some technical things to be able to bring you a stream tonight. Just me tonight. No Cammy or Dan. So I'll be taking you through just under an hour of action on stream tonight. We're just coming to the end of a 30-minute qualifying session. Jordan Watson currently on pole, but he's currently in the pit lane. Marquez currently second, Miles Dixon, then Daniel Hearn, and then Jan Hilden is your top 5 currently, as Marquez just goes to the pit lane, and so that's his qualifying over. Who have we got on track that's going quicker at the minute? A few people actually going a little bit quicker. We've got Van Muggeden in the Porsche, MSL Racing Porsche, currently in 14th, going a little bit quicker. A couple of, well, one main change today. Javier Marquez is now in the correct class, as you might remember if you watched last week. He'd had a really good result in AM class, and that has been corrected as he'd signed up in the wrong class. And you can see his pace in that Merc. The Merc looking really good round here. I was doing a few laps in the Merc earlier and it made me look quick. He's up in 2nd position. Leading AM on the grid at the minute is Sasha King. She's also in the Merc. She's in 7th overall, only 6/10 off the lead as well, so really good qualifying from her. She's got a sizable gap back to 2nd in class, who's Henry Handley down in 18th position. So yep, really good laps being put in. We've just got a few more to cross the line, but it doesn't look like anyone else is going to go any faster. Kev, Simabino, Bo, hello everyone. We've got a 45-minute race tonight. I'll run through last week's results in a minute once we've just come to the end of this qualifying session. We're just watching Miles because Miles is slightly up. Might just be enough to sneak him onto the front row if he can keep this up round the rest of the lap. He's just coming down the back straight into the very tricky fast right-hander, and he is in the tow of a Porsche who also is on a fast lap, so he's not going to be able to get waved through, and that might cost it. Although he's enjoying the tow at the minute, he's still up slightly. That's Van Oosenen in front of him, who's run wide the last corner. Actually, both of them have run wide the last corner and invalidated their laps. So both were on the bubble trying to make time up. Yeah, so tonight is our usual Sundays. It's round 2 today. So in the first round was at Zolder last weekend. Alex Shahabi won the race with Jordan Watson 2nd, Javier Marquez 3rd, Ben Rooney 4th, and Daniel Hearn 5th, John Earl 6th. Alan Gallner 7th, Martin Thorpe, then Petr Jelinek, and then Wilbert Van Oosenen. Tonight we're at Misano, where we held our 12 hours of Misano in November, December. And if you missed our 6 hours of Suzuka yesterday, you'll have missed the announcement to say what the next endurance race is, and sign-ups will be up in about an hour or so's time, and this is what we're doing.
For action.
So yeah, that's what we're doing in a couple of months' time, and the sign-ups will be out for public release in the next hour or so. Probably, well, about an hour and a half's time. Sign-ups will go. We've had some pre-invites go out, and there's a total of 50 spots in the race, so it should be really good. heading over into tonight then, Jordan Watson is our pole sitter. So second in the last race. We know how quick he is from his record on Sundays, but he's got Javier next to him. So Javier having a really good qualifying there, second on the grid. Sammy, thank you very much for the subscription. Thank you. Appreciate it. 13 months. Been around a while, huh? And it's actually a Pulse 123 with Miles sneaking into third place. I saw him moaning in the in the server about his pace, but he seems to have picked it up in qualifying. So really good lap from him. Dan Hearn fourth on the grid. Then it's Hilden fifth, Shahabi sixth, Sasha King, the first of our AMs, in seventh, Marcus Hagel, pardon me, in eighth on the grid. He'll be looking to move forward a little bit. Then it's two Porsches, Rooney in the Go for the Gap machine and Lindblom in the Fry Guys machine. And we've got Martin Thorpe, Adam Gardner, John L, Van Wingerden in 14th, Matt High 15th, Mav Gardner in 16th position, Van Oosenen 17th with Handy right behind. This is where we've kind of met the AMs. Petty Jelinek in 19th, Ollie Knowles in 20th, Girton in 21st, Sherlock in 22nd, Parkin in 23rd, Ryan Davies, Van der Veen, Dave Selecki in 26th. A nice oNiD Racing, four cars next to each other on the grid, as we kind of expect. We've got Lewin in 27th, Cheel 28th, Jongen, good to see him back. He's in the V12. That's anyone that knows me knows how much I like the V12. So here he is. This is probably one of the worst tracks you could probably use this car on, but fair play to him persisting. Gary Dawson in 30th. Then we've got Dan Rhodes, Vesti, and then Hurst is 33rd on the grid. Timo Shover HPC, thank you very much for the subscription. 15 months. You're all coming out the woodwork tonight. Oh my god, it's some race cars. It is some race cars, and it is Sunday. It is our usual Sunday racing. Dave's saying in chat he's so slow. Well, I know you might think you're slow, but we're going to show off the livery. The OG, for any OG 2+ years fans of oNiD, you'll remember the original livery, and there he is in all its glory with the updated sponsors on it, just for Dave. And don't you dare say you prefer that to the other liveries, because I'm not doing all the liveries in that style. So Watson's going to lead us down. ACC formation ghosting, yes, Fops, yes. It was a bit of a surprise when I went back onto iRacing after so long, and I had to be careful on the formation lap. Had to be careful, but yeah, the ghosting on the formation lap does make it slightly easier. Hopefully you can hear the cars on track. Okay, I can turn it up a little bit if you need to. Yeah, so we've got 45 minutes of racing. The format is a full 45-minute sprint. Only one race. We're doing a slightly shorter race time on this series before we change it up again next time. But they do all have a mandatory pit stop to complete. And that mandatory pit stop, actually, interestingly enough, is for tyres only. So they don't have to take fuel. So if they want to, they can fuel the car up before the race starts and run around with race fuel on. So it does make for some interesting strategies. We're not expecting any adverse weather today, so that's not going to be anything that we need to think about. But between getting drive-throughs for track limits at Misano and the pit stop, the pit lane speeding, it could be very interesting. As we go green, Jordan Watson on the left, Javier Marquez on the right. We'll go to the helicam view to see what's going on. All very well behaved through there. Watson holds the lead. Miles nearly goes into the back of his teammate, and it's under pressure straight away from Dan Hearn. Hilden in behind them in that black Audi, having a look up the inside of Hearn, but we've got Shahabi on the outside, trying to go around the outside in the BMW. All quite clean at the front. I see a spinner towards the back of the field, but everyone else seems to have got through without incident. Our AM update, Sasha, doing really well and holding up in 7th position currently, so she'll be happy with that start as well. But the real winner out of this was Watson. Watson with a nice clean start, and he's already gapped. He's got a 7/10 gap already. Nice and clean, solid through there. And the 3 Pulse cars avoided incident and have managed to get through it in one piece. So on to the big back straight we go. This is the big overtaking place. This is where cars like the Porsche are going to struggle down the straight. You can see already that Mav putting some pressure on Van Vingeren in front of him and gets past Quentin. So that's where we're anticipating that the Porsche is going to be weaker, but the Porsche over the rest of the lap is extremely quick. So just something to bear in mind when you're coming up. It's not always a good overtaking place, because the back straight leads onto a very fast right-hander, which can be quite difficult to, well, it's very, very difficult to go side by side. So some of the Porsches will be hoping that people can't get close enough to them to be able to dive down the inside. We're still following Mav here, whose pace at the start of this race is very impressive. He's now on the back of Matt High. A little bit further forward, there's a little bit of a gap. Hilden's lost a few places by the look of it, so I don't know if he's come to some grief with Hearn and Shahabi, but he's back into 8th position, just in behind Rooney. There's a little bit of a gap in front of this, which indicates to me there's been a bit of a scuffle. And Rooney takes the normal racing line to kind of shut the outside door. And Jan Hilden, who'll be looking to work his way back forward again. It's a good qualifying from him. This is Handy on the left, and that's Ollie Knowles on the right hand side in the Jota inspired livery. Nicely held round the outside, good battling from those two. Looks like Ollie Knowles has got the move completed, if that was a new move or a defence, but he has got past Handy at the start anyway. I'm looking back at who we've got, and we've got Hurst, Girton and Vest all in the pit lane, and we've got Van der Veen, who's looks like he's facing the wrong way somewhere. Looks like he's on the recovery drive, so maybe he must have been involved in an early incident. We've got a couple of cars off in the background. I'm sorry you can't have replays tonight because my PC I didn't manage to resolve the replay issue on short notice, so you're going to have to take my word for it there. Parking is okay, it looks to have survived that, but it looks like we've Dave's lost a couple of spots there back to 23rd, and Petr Jelinek was the one who was backwards off the track. He's rejoined safely in 26th position. This is Handy again, so that's Ollie Knowles. So Ollie must have got past earlier in the race, and he's been defending from Henry. Henry's got past. We know how quick Henry is. Himself and Adam finished, what, 4th, 5th yesterday in the 6 hours of Suzuka. An excellent effort from those two in a Revelant racing car. So they'll be looking to continue on. Marcus Hagel is the Pulse car behind, so that might have been one of the spinners. It must have been one of the spinners at the start. He's back down into 16th position after qualifying up in the top 10. So we know Hagel's got the pace. I don't think Ollie will fight that too hard. He might just try and sit behind him here and use the toe to help with the let's say sub-optimal top speed of the Porsche. I think that's a generous way of putting it anyway. I think that's quite polite. I think he'll be looking for a way forward back towards the top 10 though. It looks like Ollie's had a moment. I don't know if he was helped at the end of the straight, but he's dropped down to 19th and he's under pressure now from Cheel in the BMW on the right hand side of your screen there. That's Dave Selecki in behind, who's made up a couple of places this lap. So they're just kind of shaking it out. The pit window is open, so people can pit and take their mandatory stop now if they wish. But the key thing to watch out for here is the track limits. Misano is a little bit notorious when it comes to track limits. It's very easy to do, so even in a 45-minute race, I think we'll be seeing a few cars get a drive-through, and I'd be surprised if we don't see at least 2-3 cars getting drive-throughs in this race. And it can be quite difficult sometimes. You hit your marks on the pit lane as well, because you're coming straight off a fast track into a very fast left-hander. I can't remember. I'm sure the pit line is after the tight left in the pit lane, so they should be able to survive that pit entry without getting a speeding penalty, but you never know. We're going to whiz a little bit further forward. We'll just have a take a look. Jordan Watson has extended his gap at the front, so he's 1.8 seconds ahead of Javier Marquez at the minute, who's also 1.8 seconds ahead of Miles Dixon. Alex Shahabi settled into a solid 4th place at the minute. That looks like Hiker just recovering to the pit lane with damage, doing well to keep that car way off the track for the faster cars coming through. But Jordan with 2nd in the last race and Shahabi with 1st in the last race. Those two are the two at the top of your title at the minute, at the top of the championship. And Watson at the minute is leading the way in this one, so he will take the championship lead if it remains how it is at the minute. But it does look like Miles is just dropping a little bit off the back of Marquez. We've got just a lapped car there as they come round. I think that's Dixon Hurst, who's already had a pit stop, presumably for damage. We've got a few cars pitting early as well, so we've got Hagel, Jongen, Parkin, Van Oosten and Hiker, who's pitting with that damage. All in the pit lane to complete their mandatory pit stop. This is Shahabi right on the back of Dixon. We've also got Dan Hearn in the Reinars oNiD racing car. Very nice Dutch orange Porsche. He's glued to the back of Shahabi as well. So these guys are doing really well. Big shout out for Sasha as well. Sasha right now 6th position overall. Very solid pace right now. Comfortable gap between her in 6th and Henry in 15th position in class. So really good effort from her. Let's have a look then. One of our resident Fry Guys oNiD entrants, Mr. John Earl, is probably streaming right now, probably sweating, because we all know how much he sweats, and I mean alien sweating rather than the heat sweating. He's right on the back then of Adam Gardner, who's holding on to a solid top 10 position at the minute. John Earl in behind is a few tenths behind in 11th place in the Audi of all things. That is not a Porsche, John. I'm used to seeing you in a Porsche. Looks like Ryan Davies is pitted out of 16th position. So quite a few people taking these early stops, probably just trying to find a bit more of a gap, do the undercut. But it will mean that towards the end of the race they will be on older tyres than many of the cars around them. They shouldn't really be having heavy wear issues with 2 sets of tyres in a 45-minute race, but it could make all the difference towards the end of the race. Matt High is right behind John at the minute. They're teammates, so no shenanigans please. And it's also showed Mav still glued to the back of High as well, so we'll be looking to make a move forward. They've just got past Hurst, the lap traffic. I do think that's Hurst. It is. And then a little bit of a gap back to Quentin and Henry in behind them. Let's shoot up to the battle for 3rd position again. So this is Miles Dixon in 3rd position. Javier now 3 seconds ahead. This is the view back from Miles then. So we're looking back at the BMW, the Connexus car of Alex Shahabi. Near behind them is Dan Hearn. Sasha will probably, even if she catches up to this group, won't be too worried. That's Ali Knowles on the right then, so he's made his mandatory stop. And this is not for position, that's him getting out of the way because he's now a lap down. But it's important to note he's taken his mandatory stop early, trying to find some free air. This is the closest battle. Well, I was saying it was the closest battle on track. It's not. Let's have a little look. We've got Dan Lindblom alongside Dave Selecki. Both having driven for oNiD Racing and Dan in the Fry Guys machine this evening. And he makes his way past Dave for position on track, but not in class. So I don't think Selecki will be too worried about that one. As I said, he was looking very sprightly behind them. Behind that, that's Petr Jelinek on the back of Gary Dixon. Bit of a oNiD Racing, stronger oNiD Racing and Fry Guys meet up this evening with them all battling for position. Good evening, Paul. Thank you very much for joining us on comms. I know this is You get to hear my voice on this stream tonight instead of the usual. But Petter, looking to the inside then. They're both in the Aston. They're both fighting for position. It's a very difficult move here when you're in the same car. Even with the slipstream, he's going to struggle to make a move. And as you can see, he kind of has just has to slide. Gary runs a little bit wide there. He might have got a track cut. Runs a little bit wide on the exit there. He's going to pull back onto the racing line. Is he allowed to do? And Petter's going to have another look. So we move back to the front then, because Shahabi had got right on the back of Miles, and then suddenly I've clicked on the camera to change, and now Dan Hearn right on the back of Alex Shahabi. These three still keeping each other close company. Was wondering if you were streaming today. Well, the plan was I was going to be streaming and racing. Unfortunately, I've had to have a bit of a change of tack, so that's why I'm here, covering the action this evening. We've really settled into the groove now, so I would normally say that the pack's kind of spread out, but there are definitely battles going on track. This is one of them. And Hearn managing to stay very close to the back of Shahabi's BMW down the straight, which is interesting. Slipstream obviously helping him. You'd be interested to think what's going through their minds here, whether they maybe try and take an early pit stop to do an undercut or go for the long run. I know Shahabi and Thorpe in the two Connexus entries usually try and go a little bit longer on their stints, so interesting to see if they do that today. Got a good voice to listen to, thank you very much. Silky smooth new mic as well on the desk, so you can listen to me in high quality now instead of my headset microphone. A little bit of an update then. Watson 3 seconds ahead of Marquez now, who's 3.5 seconds ahead of Dixon. So the front three really spreading out, and Miles can't seem to shake Shahabi and Hearn at the minute. A little bit further back, you've got Sasha in 6th, Rooney holding on to a solid 7th position right now. Jan Hilden, after losing a couple of spots early with a presumed incident, is settled into 8th position. Martin Thorpe in 9th position, who has Adam Gardner for close company in 10th, a few tenths behind him. And our first drive-through of the day. Well, I did say it was easy to get track limits here, and unfortunately Dan is the first one to do it. He was so well behaved yesterday at Suzuka with the track cuts. It is very easy to get them. That's a 14 minutes drive-through. Sorry Dan, I've highlighted this on stream. Very quick. His pace looks really good in the race, but yeah. I think Dan's had off, and he has. Hearn drops behind Sasha King. So whether he was getting too close to Shahabi, a little bit of side-by-side action, or has just made a mistake, that has dropped him back, and I think that might move him to maybe think about having a pit stop a little bit earlier than he was anticipating. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, it was really good yesterday. Obviously, anyone seeing the race on stream sees one side of it with the commentary team doing a sterling job, Cammy and Dan and Parkin pretty much doing the entire thing. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But then you've also got the stewarding team and all of that kind of set up beforehand and everything. I think I was online for about 11-12 hours yesterday sorting everything out, so yeah, it's really nice to hear the positive feedback from people about the standard of the endurance races that we put on. So very happy with that. As Sasha King just moves out of the way, and I don't think she particularly made a mistake, but she's got plenty of time behind her to think about. Got somewhere in the region of a 15-second gap back to handy in 15th place, so, and pace is very good, so it's not a fight that she needs to be having. So whether she made a little mistake and decides to get off the throttle and let Dan past, or just decides to let him past anyway, doesn't want to be losing time. Alex is still right on the back of Miles as well. Let's go on board That's the right button. There we go. On board with Alex Shahabi right up behind Miles Dixon currently. That blue Aston in front is lapped car, or to be soon to be lapped car. I think that's Ryan, who has already completed his mandatory pit stop. Just Alex getting closer and closer and closer to the back of Miles, fighting for this podium spot, and it really will come down to the timing of their pit stops. I think. When do they pit compared to each other? I don't think Alex will want to pit on the same lap because it might hamper his entry. Will they both hit their marks in the pit stop? It's the thing with these 45-minute races with the mandatory pit stop. It really does throw something else in there. I'm just going to go back here because we've got Handy going around the outside of Mav Gardner. I think Gardner is just recuperating back on the track. He was right at the back of Matt High, and he's now dropped back 3 positions to 15th. So 2 positions back to 15th from 13th position. It's interesting that really we haven't seen any of the top 15 really take the plunge and pit yet. I think we had Hagel, who had an early issue. He pitted. His pace, by the way, at the minute is kind of leader pace. He's just did a 34 dead, and the leader did 33.8. So that early pit stop looks to be paying off for him. He's putting the hammer down to try and make up as many places as possible. Trying to run in free traffic. Actually, we can take a look at what this looks like. He's taken his pit stop really early, and as you can see, no cars around him right now. He can put the hammer down and push at his own pace. So it'll be interesting to see if that brings him back up into the realms of the top 10. As Alex still following Miles. Miles doing a really good job here not to get caught looking in his mirrors and make a mistake. Keeping the pace up. They're not massively losing time to Javier now. Javier is still only 3.5 seconds ahead of them. He stopped extending that lead. It looked like he just had a slightly slower lap last lap. So, just goes to show Miles and Alex here aren't exactly slouching. They are still on the pace, but you can see that Dan is slowly reining them in behind again in the Porsche. So we've got a car off. I think Lewin has had a... So I kept on saying it was Hurst in the orange. I do apologise. It was Lewin in the orange. Unless that's it. Right, I'm gonna. They were teammates. I was correct the first time, but Lewin just with a slight mistake on, I think that was turn 4, turn 5. Let's go back on board with Shahabi then. Sis 4th, 3rd position at the minute, but Alex not getting frustrated, or at least not visibly getting frustrated. He's still being very calm and patient here, just waiting for the opportunity to have a go. He doesn't really need to be pushing. He can, if he's, well, he could be pushing to try and keep up, obviously, but he's obviously got a bit of pace, whether that's slipstream pace or whether his out and out pace is quicker than Miles. The gap at the front has hit 4.7 seconds, so Watson leads Marquez by 4.7 seconds. Watson doing a really good job after such a nice clean start in first. He's going to continue that trend all the way through the first 12 laps of the race. The first 20 minutes have been completed. We're nearly coming up to halfway, and a lot of cars, you can see that the first 22 cars on track are yet to complete their pit stop. I think Lewis just pitted. Matt High also looks like he's just entered the pit lane as well. So more cars starting to think about their mandatory stop and getting that out of the way. This is the closest fight on track, and Dan Hahn has kind of caught back up, so I'm not entirely sure what happened and why he dropped back, but there he is again, and I'm wondering if he did have a bit of shenanigans rather than a mistake, whether he's going to try and stick a nose in. Is he going to try and pit? He's pitting. That was a very late call from Dan. Makes the pit entry and makes the speed limit as well. You can see there it's got this limiter on before that marker board on the left behind you at live timing. So he obviously raced up to the back of those two and thought, do you know what, why don't I pit, try and get the undercut, And now we wait and see what happens with these two. Will Dixon or Shahabi decide to pit at the end of this lap to try and cover off the undercut? Or are they going to continue going? I would say one of these two cars will pit this lap. I think if Miles doesn't pit, Alex might decide that now is the time to pit and try and make the jump past. We've also got John Earl in the pit lane. Mav Gardner's also in the pits right now. So a few of the cars further back are in a little bit of a higher position right now before they take their pit stop. But as we are coming up to halfway through, the natural fastest strategy would be to pit on halfway to get the most out of the tyres. Obviously you don't have to take fuel, so most cars will probably be taking race fuel right from the start. I'm just having a little look down the order, and until all of the pit stops are completed, it's quite difficult to be able to see where people have kind of got released in order. It looks like everybody's doing the same strategy, tyres only. If I have a look at the pit stop tracker, I can have a look at time in pit, as there you go. So Marquez in, Shahabi, noticing that Miles wasn't going to pit, has also pitted. Sasha in, Rooney in as well. So a lot of the leaders now coming into the pit lane. Watson's still circulating in first position. Miles moves up to second while he's just waiting to take his stop. We've got Martin Thorpe still on track, Adam Gardner still on track, and Jan Hilden all still on track going. I'm just having a look through the time stopped. Parkin and Jongen had longer stops, so I'm thinking they probably had damage. Everybody else is around that 33, 34, 35 seconds, which would indicate tyres only, stop and start, no fuel being added. Sharpie still got energy after yesterday. I mean, the lad's so quick. I've seen him do 12-hour races across the weekend and then still do the Sunday racing on a Sunday evening, so absolutely fair play. Let's have a look back then. We've still got some of the AMs are still out before they pit. Cheel has been caught up by Dave Selecki, so Selecki on the back of Cheel. This is full position, both cars yet to pit, but you can see in behind. They've also got Petr Jelinek only a second and a half behind. So, we were talking about the undercut and how big it could be. Well, here you go. This is the perfect example of what can happen. Dan Hearn then up. He's currently showing as in 12th position, but you can see on the timing board he's actually jumped in front of Shahabi and by a couple of seconds as well. So, Dan Hearn, he clearly had the pace after losing a couple of seconds. He shot back onto the back of Miles and Alex, and he's back. Well, he's now in front of Shahabi, and he's only a second behind Marquez as well. So the undercut with the open track works. It'll be interesting to see if he can carry this on. We've got another batch of cars in the pit lane right now. Miles in, Hilden in, Quentin in, and Jordan Watson, our leader, is also in, which means currently, before his pit stop, I did say the Connexus boys sometimes like staying out late. Martin Thorpe enjoying the clear track. Nice solid race so far. He's currently leading the race with his mandatory stop still to be taken. Let's have a look at what's happening, because we've got Jordan and Miles who seem very close in the pit lane actually. So I'm just wondering, did Jordan take a little bit of fuel? Jordan, yeah, so Watson was stationary for an extra 10 seconds, so maybe he didn't get perfectly lined up. Maybe he's taken a bit of extra fuel, running a little bit lighter. You can see there in the background, let's go to the helicam, that was Dan Hearn. Is Marquez going to sneak past them? It's going to be very close. Marquez going round the outside of one of the oNiD Racing Porsches. Not quite close enough. I don't think, even if that Porsche hadn't been there, I don't think they'd have quite been able to get the run. But so Jordan Watson is your net leader still, but Marquez now only half a second behind with totally warm tyres while Jordan's trying to warm them up. Dan Hearn jumps to third with Miles Dixon dropping back into an effective fourth position. And Shahabi back to fifth with a bit of work to do now. So the undercut for Dan working really well. I think we've lost Cheel somewhere. in the Remnant Racing car. That looks like a disconnect or a steering wheel failure rather than anything else. You would not go that far off without something like that, I don't think. So that's a shame, because I know he hadn't pitted yet, but he was having a solid race towards the front of the AM class. Martin still is your leader, but I'm going to go straight back because we've also had a bit of a mix-up behind. So John Earl has jumped past Rooney, and Hagel has put the hammer down, and he's now right on the back of these guys after pitting super early to get out of traffic after having that early mistake or early issue. He's now right on the back of these two. So this is Rooney and the oNiD go for the gap car, right on the back of the Fry Guys machine of John Earl, and Hagel in behind him in the Pulse Sim Sport car. This race is really hotting up for these three because that is a different order, and Hagel's really brought himself into play with this one. Just having a look towards the front. We've still got 13 minutes left on the pit window. Thorpe, Gardner and Handy, no visible sight that they need to pit. They're all in clean air right now. So Adam Gardner is 3 seconds behind Martin Thorpe, and 6 seconds behind him is Henry Handy. So the Remnant cars going long in second and third, using this gap of time. Martin Thorpe in then, so he's in and he's going to give up that lead and drop back to where he was before. He might have hit lap traffic there, which might be why he's dived into the pit lane. Let's have a look at Watson. So this is Watson, he's your net leader. But if you look behind him from the Watson's car, you can see Marquez, his teammate in the Mercedes, now correctly in Pro Class, only 8 tenths behind. And you can also see behind him, we've got Dan Hearn in the orange Porsche. Let's go and have a look. So Sasha is still in the net lead of the AM class, and I think she's probably going to give this up to Jan Hilden. So Jan Hilden's made up. No, he's making the move work around the outside. Plenty of room given by both. I don't think Sasha's fighting it too hard, but retains the position. Hilden then has made up. I think he's made up a couple of spots in this kind of pit window by pitting at a different time. Hi Aces! Yep, you get the lovely British accent of me this evening. There's only 16 minutes left of this race, so I'm looking a little bit further forward. We've only got then the two of the Remnant Racing cars, Gardner and Handy, are the two cars that have not pitted, as Jan Hilden runs really wide on the outside there, really pushing. We've got a yellow flag. I'm not sure. I think Dave has had an issue. Selecki with just driving a little bit slowly there, recovering. Might have had a spin. Just trying to work out why. He does look like he's back up to speed. Yeah, British accent is goated, yeah. Although don't let Australians hear you say that. Gardner in, Handy in. So both the Remnant Racing teammates, the teammates that got into the top 5 in the 6-hour Suzuki. Yes, they have pitted, and that is going to hand the lead back to Jordan Watson, who is still then, he's not pulling away for Marquez. So this is a 5-way fight for the lead then. The leaders, Watson, 8 tenths ahead of Marquez, who's 7 tenths ahead of Hearn, who's 8 tenths ahead of Dixon, who's 2 tenths ahead of Shahabi. So these 5 very close, and this is a little bit of a repeat of what happened earlier in the race. Shahabi right on the back of Miles. Hearn obviously has jumped those two BMWs in the pit stop phase, and now finds himself third. But you've got to think this race is going to hot up now. There's no pit stops anymore. They'll be coming across more and more lap traffic as the race goes on in the last 15 minutes. You've got to think they'll have some track cuts and things to watch out for. Misano's pretty notorious. So it should be a nice close fight. Mr. Seville in chat, and he's not here racing. It doesn't feel like a Sunday race without Johnny, but I hope you're well. The Pulse liveries look good. I think the Pulse livery that I did look the best. LOL! I can make jokes like that. But yes, they do look very nice. And I do appreciate pink being on the cars, because I think it looks dashing. given that the oNiD cars are purple, we like a bit of alternate colourings. So just having a little look down. So these 5 still in formation file. There's still the fight. There's still... Well, can I have a look at Matt High here? Because he looks like he's on the back of a lap car, but he's got Quentin and Adam Gardner for close quarters behind them, as you can see. I think that's Dan Rhodes in the Porsche, just getting lapped, getting well out of the way. We've got... let's go and have a look at something a bit different while we're just... oh, no, wait, we're not going to do that because it looks like it's all come to blow... Not coming to blows yet, but you can see on the outside there behind, that's Shahabi on the outside of Dixon. So it looks like they caught Jerome Jongen in the V12 at a bit of a difficult spot. It all bunched up, so they've lost a couple of seconds from Marquez. Marquez lost a second to Watson. And so we came back to the action, and there was 2 BMWs side by side. And this is what can happen with the lap traffic. Really can bunch people up. It'd be interesting to see when they get to this straight here, because Jongen is going to be... this is where the V12 shines. Look at the little V12. That and the Lexus are my favourite cars in this sim. So watching someone actually take the V12 for the full season, I would love to do that. You never know, maybe I'll change cars in the next couple of rounds and give Jongen a little bit of a fight. But yeah, it just looks so diddy. Apart from the huge rear wing on it, it looks so diddy behind them. But it looks like they've kind of worked that one out between them. No change in positions. I was going to say I was going to go back and have a look at what was going on, but it was actually... I was looking at Parkin and Jongen for the fight. You can see Parkin there in the red Ferrari. They were pretty close together, but we'll jump to a little bit of oNiD on oNiD action. That's Ryan Davies in 18th, Petr Jelinek in 19th, both in the oNiD Racing Stronger Astons, fighting for position, as Gary Dawson in the Fry Guys machine, 24th position, gets a drive-through. So that's the second drive-through. You can't use the emote. What do you mean you can't use the best emote on Twitch? There you go. So Petr was really quick in practice. He did drop some places early, so I think he was involved in... Well, he was involved in at least one incident because he was backwards at one point. He's been working his way back through. Ryan with really good pace. Ryan 3rd in class right now. That's to be commended. So 3rd and 4th, these 2 in class. They've got a decent gap behind them of 14 seconds back to Ollie Knowles, who's also fighting Dave Selecki. So the fight for the AM podium is hotting up. The top 2 in the AM, Sasha in 7th overall and Henry in 14th overall. They look like they've got those positions pretty much wrapped up now with 11 minutes to go. But this is your fight for the podium places in AM, as Dawson comes in to take his penalty. Let's have a little look. So the top 5 really have spread out a little bit now. So Jordan has kind of extended that gap again up to 3 seconds back to Marquez. So it looks like it's been kind of restored. Balance has been restored at the front. The gaps have kind of expanded out again. You do have to wonder if that's down to the traffic. Working their way through the traffic a little bit easier. Obviously, there's not going to be a load of traffic. It's 45-minute sprint races, but they will be catching cars that maybe have been caught up in incidents, etc. through this race. And we've seen that already as Ryan just runs a little bit wide. Petr going to look to the right-hand side through the penultimate corner. Doesn't want to run out wide. I'm assuming they've both got a fair amount of track limits already. And both very nice and tidy through the last corner onto the main straight. It's not that much of a main straight. You barely hit 5th gear before you're into turn 1, into the very difficult right-hander, because you need to keep it quite tight to the right-hand side to open up turn 2. So they go through the flat-out turn 3 towards the very difficult little tight complex of 4, 5 and 6. Petr really pushing Ryan at the minute, trying to put him under pressure. Try and keep it as flat as possible through 6 onto the first back straight, as it were, before we hit turn 7, which is a long left-hander, kind of late apex left-hander. You can go on board here with Petter. So this is Petter up into turn 8, if we don't count this little jink as turn 8, a little bit late on the brakes, but Petter getting it all cleaned up, and actually a really nice exit as well. So this is the big long straight. They're both in Aston Martin, so the toe probably isn't going to be that great for Petter, but if you can just put a little bit of pressure on, you can try and do something. So this is the fast right-hander at the end of the straight. Very difficult when you're in the toe of other cars sometimes. You really get a lot of aero loss there into the tight hairpin at the bottom, and then we're going to go into the final 2 corners again. You see the pace they're carrying, and it's very easy to just put your wheels across the white line and get a cut track, and 4 cut tracks on ACC, and that is a drive-through. That's Adam Gardner in 16th position is our next to suffer. So he's dropped a few places. He was up fighting with Earl and Rooney, but he's dropped to 16th, and he's got a drive-through. But I think more importantly as well, in the title fight, Alex Shahabi, he's been following Miles for the whole race, so he's done well to keep it in the limits, because it can be quite difficult to follow track limits when you're following other cars. It's easy to wash out or just get blindsided if you're too close to the back of someone. But he has picked up a drive-through for track limits, and he's going to take that penalty immediately. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. It's a very difficult little pit lane entry, and a long pit lane as well. Even after the pit boxes, anyone that's driven here, you've still got another 10-15 seconds of speed limiter. So, hi Hydra, yep, drive through, all the drive-throughs. Aces, John Watson is leading currently, so here he is in the McLaren, and he's really stretching his legs now. He's pulled out a 3.7 second gap. Back to Edmund Marquez, who's got a 2-second gap to Dan Hearn. So Dan Hearn will be very happy, though, I think, with 3rd position today, given he was kind of boxed in by the 2 BMWs and used that pit lane phase to get past. Shahabi then is still in the pit lane. Here he comes out on the exit. He's currently exiting in. No, it's going to drop him down a few more places here, I think. I think that's a net full 14th. So Hagel's also in, so I'm not sure what's happened. Where is Hagel? That looks like damage. So Hagel then looks to be out of the race. Oh, and Adam Gardner, when serving his penalty, has now got a stop and go for speeding in the pit lane. Very easy to do, as I mentioned at the start of this broadcast. It's a tricky little pit lane entry because you have to brake, turn left, and then accelerate before you get to the pit entry, to the speed limit line. So that's a real shame, because Adam was having a solid race up towards the top 10 in Pro Class, which is not too shabby at all. And that's obviously going to drop him even further back than that drive-through would. The beneficiaries, I should say, of these penalties, Jan Hilden then has kind of regained a top 5 position. So solid pace through the race, keeping the Audi on the track. Good pace. That's a big winner. And also people like Matt High, Quentin, John and Earl and Rooney, all of those gaining spaces. So Rooney now 11th overall, but 10th in class. Having a look around the outside of, is that John Earl? It is John Earl in front of him. Just coming up across a little bit of traffic. Well, that's not, no, they weren't coming up in traffic, because Henry's actually fighting them. He's behind, fighting for position. That's Henry Handy in behind, who's 2nd in class. That is, well, that's an interesting line. I think you probably want to back out of that. No? I think that's proving a point of, I was there, you can't force me off the track like that. Because they are in different classes. But, yeah, Henry Andy not having any of that. And it did look like he had a nose there and was getting forced off the track. So I'm not surprised that he decided to have a word, let's say, and complete the move. Looked like John was just a little bit slow out of the tricky little left-hander onto that straight. And that kind of backed up Rooney into handy. So, oh, a big swapper there, well saved. Then just outbrakes himself, but gets it back up. So they go for the gap carve. Brendan Rooney, 12th overall, still 10th in Pro class. This is Alex Parkin on the back of Jongen. So Jongen, who I've been praising all day for being a madman and driving the V12 round here, can't be quick. It's quick for about a quarter of the track, I think. Has made his way past Alex Parkin, who's all over the curves on the outside, well held. We've also got I think that was, I'm not sure who that was behind them, but fully using the curves behind them as well. So Parkin has a look. That's a late move, but he's getting the move done. The V12 probably having to be a little bit more careful on the brakes. Well defended from Jongen and good space from Alex there. Just didn't run Jongen off the road or anything like that as they come up behind a car to be lapped. This is probably where you're going to see Jongen disappear. And there he goes, look. What a machine. We love you, V12. You can see it's not really a track made with massive straights, so the V12 really doesn't have that much time to stretch its legs with its good top end speed. We've only got 2 minutes 40 left. Jordan Watson still leading the way as we've got a spinner in the background. That's Hiker. Doing well to keep it off the track. He'll just be waiting for a gap where he can rejoin safely, and he's managed to do that. Probably just going to stay to his right hand side as Hilden and King come through and rejoins the racetrack. We've got Adam Gardner on the back of Gary Dawson then. So this is Adam recovering after the drive through and the stop go. I don't think Gary's going to put up too much of a fight here. It's not for position in class, so he's more wary probably of what's going on behind them. I'm just trying to work out who that is. Is that Martin Thorne behind? No, I don't think it is. Nope. Is it? Nope. Is there another Connexus car that I've just totally missed? Oh no, sorry. That'll be Shahabi. I do apologise. So Mav, that is defending from Shahabi. That's because Shahabi had the drive-through. I'd totally forgotten that he had the drive-through. Currently in 14th overall. Hustling Mav at the end of this race. There's 1 minute 30 to go as Jordan Watson comes over at the line, and this is going to be the last lap then, and unless he sets the world alight and does a worldwide lap record of a 1:30 on that last lap, this will be the last lap of the race. Jongen up, we've got a bit of a we've got a bit of a car park going on. As Jongen and Parkin come to grief, Gary Dawson with a drive-through for track limits in 24th. That's going to drop him back a few places in class, I think. It's all going off towards the end. We've got signs flying all over the place there. Henry Handy putting John Earl under some pressure, with Brendan really right behind him as well. So these three fighting for position. I know Henry's in a different class, but he's more than entitled to get involved here to try and get a top 10 position. Overall, there is an overall point standing as well as... oh wow, lovely move there. BMW really hooked up there. John flashing his lights, but there is, I have to say, like, there are both class standings and there is an overall standing for this championship. So I mean, Henry's more than entitled to go for that position. There's nothing in the rules to say he can't. And Brendan Rooney having a really good look then at the back of John Earl. We've got another yellow on track. I think that's Parkin, who's had a spin somewhere, and there he is recovering. We're just going to bounce back to the leader then. This is Jordan Watson. You haven't seen too much of him today. Pole, clean first lap, disappeared up the road, pitted, disappeared up the road again. Excellent result for the Pole Sim Sport driver. Second in round 1, wins round 2 here at Misano. Javier Marquez comes over the line with a solid second place. Now he's in the correct class. He's now got a second place overall. Dan Hearn with a great undercut strategy comes up in third. Miles Dixon well defended all the way through that race, finishing 4th, and Jan Hilden in 5th. You missed Sasha King crossing the line, so she's the winner in class today for the AM class. I'm just going to whiz back because we've got Mav and Shahabi's on the inside of the last corner. Mav's not going to give it up on the outside. Mav keeping his foot in. He's just about going to get away with that, is he? It's going to be super close over the line. Who's going to get that one? Shahabi just misses out. Mav holds him off at the end. Great driving from both of them. We're just going to have a look. We've got Ryan coming over the line defending from Jelinek. So this is for the podium in class. Just coming up behind Dan Rhodes, who gets well out of the way, quite rightly. He doesn't want to get anywhere near these two. Ryan with a fantastic race for third in class. Excellent result for him. Petter, well done for him for the comeback as well. Great racing for the two oNiD Racing stronger cars. To finish 15th and 16th overall. And that is a third and fourth in AM class. What a race, though. I mean, we had a little bit of a lull at one point where I was milling about, working out what I could talk about, but it really came together. The final car across the line in the OG oNiD livery. Dave Selecki, well done. I know he was in chat earlier saying he wasn't feeling too quick, but he finishes 5th in AM class. Not too shabby at all. So that's your race then. I'll just run down the order. We had 28 finishers in the end. I think, well, I'll run through the order. Jordan Watson with the win then in the Pulse Sim Sport car. Aria Marcus 2nd, Dan Hand 3rd, Miles Dixon 4th, Hilden 5th. King is your winner of AM class in 6th overall. Martin Thorpe with a good run up the grid, finishing up into 7th. Matt High in 8th. Van Vinkeren in 9th, and John Out completed the top 10. No, he didn't. I think someone's left the server and confused my game. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's exactly what's happened. But 12th was Rooney, 13th Mav Gardner, 14th, holding back Shahabi at the end. Luke Sherlock finished in 15th position in Pro Class. Then 3rd in AM was Ryan Davis, then Petter Jelinek. Dan Lindblom after his drive-through finished in 18th overall. Selecki in 19th. I don't think we saw a drive-through from Drive-Through Dave, so that is top work from him. Lewin in 20th, Ollie Knowles in 21st, then Jongen Parkin. Adam Gardner with a couple of penalties, unfortunately, still finished the race. Credit to him, 24th position. Dan Rhodes in the oNiD Racing Porsche in 25th. Gary Dawson with a late drive-through, finishing 26th. Van Oosenen had some dramas somewhere that I think we missed on stream, finishing 27th. Heike van der Veen in 28th. Hurst 29th. Vest, quite a quiet day. I think he had an incident early on that we missed on stream, finishing 30th. Girton in 31st. Hagel in 32nd, and then I think it was Cheel in 33rd. So retirement for Hagel with what looked like damage, and Cheel looked like he had a wheel issue and ended up a long way off the track. Dave with only one warning, folks. I should have put a prediction up because nobody would have predicted that. Let's be honest. Right, well, very big thanks. I know it's been a bit of a short stream. We had a bit of a change of circumstances just before the stream went live. That's why you've had me this evening rather than the usual crew. Hopefully you'll have the usual crew of Dan and Cammy back next week, or Dan and Cammy next week. So thank you very much. And I'll leave you with, well, I'm going to go and sort out an announcement for a certain 24-hour event. So I will leave you with that trailer right now. And if you can stick around, actually, I will go and raid someone. Just after this trailer, we will go and give someone a raid. So go and say hi to someone random from oNiD Racing if you can. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you all watching along this evening. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. And I will catch you next time.
For action.